how close do you think we are to like the chat GPT moment for agents, right? I mean, like, hey, book me a flight, book me a hotel, and boom, I don't have to think about it. Like, is this a year away? Is it 2 years away? Is it like what's your view on it?
I think it's a few years away. At least, I mean, and probably even more for something that's mass adoption. There are a lot of challenges ahead with permissions, access, authorization, data. I'm still waiting for the first big data leak where you gave one of these AI companies access to all your Gmail, all your Google Drive, and then they get breached, and then someone now has access to thousands of users, basically their lives. I mean, my life lives in, email, right? Like, probably find almost anything about me in there. And so, I think there's going to be a moment where like security still gets brought to the forefront, and you have to figure that out before kind of going to the fully kind of autonomous agents at scale.
Today, I'm excited to have Dane Knecht, CTO of Cloudflare, on the pod. And frankly, we got a lot to cover, so I won't waste any time and just dive right in. I guess the first thing I actually want to ask you is, what's the story with the lava lamps, right? How did this come about? Who came up with the idea? Like, just bring us the narrative of like these lava lamps, and also the use case, by the way, for those who aren't aware.
Cryptography kind of underlies everything that we do, the ability to encrypt the internet, move information around secure and safely. And so, way before crypto meant blockchain, crypto to us was cryptography. So we actually had a cryptography team, going back probably to 2013 or 14. Someone named Nick Sullivan actually ran the team. I think we were always kind of looking for ways to make explaining cryptography accessible to people, as well as to better secure our network. Can't remember exactly who was the first person to think of it, probably somewhere between Nick, Matthew, and John Graham Cumming. They came up with the idea to make a wall of lava lamps and basically put a crystal in front of a camera, and add that to as one of our entropy sources. Because what backs all cryptography is having a good entropy source for randomness.
So the crystal, though, is to refract the light, I'm guessing. So then that's even more randomness, or?
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, everyone comes up with reasons. Oh, well, it can't be secure because of this or this, and throw a crystal in front of it, and that's moving, and you pretty much guarantee that there's plenty of randomness there.
That is crazy. Okay, so that being said, I don't think that like now there's other things besides lava lamps being used, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. Every city that we've opened has a kind of a unique entropy source for them. In Lisbon, there's water and waves that go along a wall that are captured. In Austin, there's light that comes in through a skylight and hits these mobiles that are different color plexiglass, and the light shines through them, and the crystal kind of reflects off them to kind of capture Austin's violet crown sunsets. And London has a kind of perpetual motion devices that are recorded on a wall. So yeah, we have fun with it.
That is just so cool. So, I want to dive into your experience. If I remember correct, and just correct me if I'm wrong, but were you the first PM hire at Cloudflare?
Yeah, I was the first product hire. Actually, Matthew liked saying we had all engineers, so he insisted on calling it a product engineer.
Okay.
So it was actually, I think, for the first couple of years, the title was product engineer.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess like one thing I want to ask, just from being at the beginning, less than 20 employees to now thousands of employees, I guess what stayed consistent about the culture, right? Because obviously there's things that have changed, but like what's one major thing that you can pinpoint? You can only choose one thing, but like what's the one major thing that you can pinpoint that has stayed consistent with the culture throughout those years?
I mean, I think the caliber of people that we hire and, have certain characteristics that help drive everything we do.
Is the characteristics like quirkiness? Is it, we'll get into some of this, but is it like being...
like curiosity? Curiosity is people, not just people that love to learn, but people that love to actually go out and seek it and ask questions and challenge things. People that are driven, people that have a high level of empathy. And obviously, over time, people become more specialized, right? You hired more generalists back then, and hired more specialists now. As we go deeper into different areas and different scales, but you hire people that do have these characteristics and believe in the mission of building a better internet, And I think, for the most part, you've kind of been able to maintain a kind of consistent culture around that.
One thing I think that's part of the culture, at least from the external side, and I want to ask you about because it's crazy how you guys do this. It seems to be truly this customer obsession, but manifested in a way where it's like you can reach you. I've personally reached you through Twitter, through email, through many different channels, and you pretty much respond. Like your internal SLA must be like, a few hours or something, and you'll respond no matter if it's a small startup or, a big thing that's going on. And that happens throughout the team, right? So I mean, how do you guys do it? How do you prioritize that? How do you synthesize all these pieces of feedback? Is there what culturally is happening, but also from a systems perspective and a processes perspective, how do you kind of manage all that?
Well, I mean, I think we all take deeply care about the product and delivering good service and our customers, and whether it's the traditional channels that they're reaching us through the support, or the more public ones, or people that just happen to have my cell phone number. We all want people to have a great experience on us, and I think it's just kind of baked into the way we kind of think about delivering the service and the responsibility that we have for that. It's not something that we expect everyone to have to be out there on Twitter and all those other mediums. Everyone kind of picks their own medium that becomes their feedback loop. For a lot of people, that's large enterprise customers by going out and meeting the CEOs, CTOs of those companies and listening. Some of it's obviously watching Twitter X, Reddit. But wherever that feedback loop is, we kind of want to meet our customers where they are, and be able to get that back into the system. And back into the system is it's our chat, it's our ticketing system, it's just different meetings, giving everyone as many data points as possible to help make decisions and prioritize how you get things done.
When you tweet out like, "Hey, what do you guys want to see for birthday week?" How often are you actually taking those and shipping them?
Well, I mean, so the transactional email from this time around, I think it's been one of the top requests for the past 4 or 5 times I've tweeted out something like that. So definitely pay attention there, and sometimes it's the crazier ones that are the most interesting and lead to the best internal conversations. But there definitely are great ideas, and a lot of things that we're doing are just obvious. Like if you're building a platform and you need those things, and hearing what people are excited about is just a great way to do it. But it's one of many kind of input sources into how you make those plans.
So you had mentioned enterprise customers, and this is one thing that I think even publicly there's been Cloudflare's kind of retooled to go to market to kind of balance this enterprise go to market and still the startups. But I want to ask like more from the product side, right? Like what has been effective in terms of balancing the two, because they may have different asks, right? I imagine agents, especially something that, right now may be coming more from individuals, but also will be much more on the enterprise side too. Like how do you kind of balance that feedback loop or the cadence to the product development between those two sources?
When I think we're building at our best is actually when we build from the bottom up, where we build things for our free customers. We use them as a superpower to get feedback, QA it even, and then go up market. When we start at the top and for the enterprise, those features are usually a mistake, and it's usually an anti-pattern here. We build the best products when we start with the self-serve customers, just because they can give that in an early stage. They can give that feedback, especially because we can move fast. That they can be part of that iterative cycle early on.
In terms of retaining that talent, which we talked about, such a good cultural thing that you guys do, like you are a perfect example of that, where you've been retained through many different roles, and we're leading innovations and new products at one point before becoming CTO. I guess like in terms of these paths, one of the things I wanted to ask you first was just what has changed with you moving to the CTO position before doing new products. You're still obviously involved with the new products, and I see you quite involved with them. But so I guess like what exactly has changed with the CTO position?
I think definitely spending even more time out with customers, especially the enterprise customers, going out traveling and meeting them is probably one of the biggest changes. But also internally trying to standardize things and make it easier for people to internally build and developers to have a great experience internally. Spend a lot of time kind of focused on that as well.
Got it. Okay. Kenton is one person I just want to call out because, obviously critical to the worker story, but also there's a fun tweet that he put out with Sunil recently where it was just like crazy idea, and and then it turns out they actually shipped the idea. We'll talk about the actual thing they shipped later, but I'm guessing like just how do you let the Kentons of the world just go and cook, right? Because it's like they've got crazy ideas floating around. They could just go and work on something, but at the same time, right? They also have a job to do, on a day-to-day basis. And so it's like, is it like the Google 20% concept? Is it just, what's the framework, I guess, that you use?
So no, I mean, we have, it's pretty distinct. I mean, we have people that are focused on the core products and delivering on a roadmap, and we build what we say we're going to build, and pretty correct there on the timelines for those things. And then we have a group of people that are supposed to be out there just taking lots of bets and building things. And actually, we want them to be as ambitious as possible. And actually, you kind of want a high failure rate there because you want to know that they're kind of trying to do something that no one else has done. And there are some people that are just. I mean, Kenton is just his ability to kind of just sort of think beyond the obvious thing that the customers are asking for, and actually take it and try to find new ways of solving things is pretty amazing. No one's telling Kenton to do that. He's just doing it. And we have a lot of people that are like that just love to experiment and build on us and try new things. And most of them are from problems they're trying to solve for themselves. And trying to make it easier for them to build something else at Cloudflare. And along the way, they realize, oh, if we add this to the system, we probably can end up with a new product, but also making our own lives easier.
I feel like that you've coined a new term, or it should be coined like an innovation engineer or something like that, almost as that group is what they're doing. But one thing that you've helped lead and is clearly powering Cloudflare in the future right now is workers. And so I want to get into that. I guess first, just to start off with, and then I want to go through the building blocks of like the major building blocks that you consider to make workers the best tool that it is today. But just to start, I believe it started as like an internal product to help Cloudflare like engineers actually better work with the CDN. Is that correct? Or I guess talk about the origin story.
So originally, when Matthew kind of split out, Matthew, our CEO, split out product and engineering into both the core group and the emerging tech and incubation group to focus on new products. A lot of the ideas that we had early on were it was just I was finding them very hard to actually get done because just the iteration cycles were just too long. The way we built things would just required too many engineers, too many moving pieces, and we were trying to find a way to how can we get these experiments out faster. We started talking about, well, what if we had a more flexible compute primitive on the edge that actually let people write applications. It kind of started there, and it actually first was like, well, should we just do like containers or some type of kind of well-known paradigm there. And then we kind of got back, our roots about, well, no, it has to be something that can scale to millions of free users. So we need to make sure that it's cost efficient and secure, and which kind of just led us down to the, okay, well, how can we build it in a way that allows us to actually do that, for using for ourselves and for customers, and kind of landed on the serverless paradigm that we did, and kind of built a runtime around what Cloudflare Scale kind of looked like.
So I guess like you build it for this internal use case, right? Then what happened? Do you start? I mean, when was the moment when you started to externalize it to customers?
Well, actually, one of the first products that we actually built on it actually got launched around the same time. A lot of the zero trust access products were built on workers, and I believe they launched the almost exactly the same time. So it was we pretty quickly realized that this is a pretty powerful paradigm. And we realized that we wanted to open up our platform. We realized not all good ideas were going to come from us, and if we wanted more people using the platform, we should open it up. So I think it was pretty early on.
I guess now like walk through workers' evolution in terms of like big products, and what I mean by that is like, durable objects seems like pretty key to the story. R2 probably pretty key to the story, right? Like, I mean, you would know better than me what those were, but just I'm curious, like, what are those key components in your mind? And if you could walk through almost like how they came about would be interesting, just in terms of like developing the platform today.
I think as we were developing we were kind of seeing how incrementally we can bring more workloads onto us. What are the new types of things that even Cloudflare internally, which is the biggest customer of Workers, we'd be able to take things out of our core data center and move them to the edge. So at first it was just obviously things that were fairly basic request response applications that could alter them, but very quickly the next thing you kind of need is state. Okay, so what kind of state do we want to do? And so we added Workers KV to let people store just basic key value pairs. And then you kind of see people build all these new type of applications, and then they quickly hit another, like, oh, I could build this if only I had, a little more flexible database primitive, and that's kind of where durable objects came from. And then obviously you mentioned R2, and beyond that, okay, well now I need blob storage. So all the things that people were trying to build applications, you could just see them. Oh well, now they're calling out to go to S3, or they're calling out for all these other things. Well, why do they need to call out if they, if we just had it there for them? And then with D1, and then obviously the AI and primitives, and to the point where you can pretty much today build a full stack application on us. There are a lot of startups today that are really just Cloudflare native, and a lot of companies that are trying to move over real workloads to us. Obviously, containers most recently was kind of one of those big unlocks where we always kind of knew we probably needed to do containers, but we were kind of worried that if we did it too early, we wouldn't build all these kind of unique primitives like Workers and durable objects, because we just would fall into the trap of giving everyone this hammer that we knew wasn't really the best tool for the job. But and now that we kind of have that and we have that ecosystem built, we don't want someone for those the random sources that actually do need it to have to go somewhere else.
If you were to build on Workers, right now, I think what you're saying is like, hey, we have built the opinionated stack that would work best to accomplish what you would need, all within Cloudflare internally. However, if you're used to building on containers previously, then now we're meeting you where you are, and we can then work with you within the Workers ecosystem with that. Is that the right way to think about it?
Yeah, or if there's just part of the application stack that you already had built and you just want to get it migrated over, and hopefully over time move more of it to the rest of the Worker stack, because either for cost or developer experience reasons, it makes sense to move.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. I guess the other question that I just have in that is like, how much of building on Workers is like a new paradigm for somebody, right? Versus, oh, it feels familiar. Because like blob storage is something you feel familiar with, right? So it's like that's familiar, but then there's other things that are like quite different, right? So I guess like, is that something you think through? I mean, obviously you guys think about the developer experience very clearly, but I guess like what are the trade-offs or things that you think about where, hey, you have familiarity here, or you have to learn like kind of a new stack?
Yeah, I think in retrospect, we probably made people learn too much, too many new things. And for people that actually did it, they feel like they have superpowers. But I think now we're going back and kind of righting some of those wrongs by adding Node.js compatibility, and kind of, let's be opinionated where it really matters, and kind of let people use a broader tool set that they're more familiar with, if it's not really moving the needle for the experience. But no, it is a different paradigm. You're building a stateless infrastructure. You're building the idea that you can build you don't need to be multi-cloud. You can deploy once to region Earth. And how do you re-architect your application to actually take advantage of that? And I think we're still early on that. Even we have D1, which is kind of our small SQLite databases, and still most people that use them, they still use them as like one single database for their application. The right way really is probably to have, if you have an application with millions of users, every user has their own database. But that requires, really different architectural patterns than people are used to. But, I think people are starting to get it, and we're seeing some of those new paradigms appear. And then in some ways, agents, we're kind of built for this. The idea that an agent is kind of a proxy of you as a human, and you want it running in a secure environment close to you that has access to, context, memory, your data, but also has access to all the, local inference, as well as the large language models, as well as the ability to get data from any other source. We kind of built that connectivity cloud for agents to live on that can, be spun up and spun down, and inside of a durable object. And actually, funny or not, we actually originally planned on calling it agents, not durable objects. And the last minute, we actually we switched it, which would yeah.
Good decision. Yeah. Or now I guess.
Yeah.
But before we get deeper into agents, I just want to go back to one thing that I think was pretty fascinating that you just said, where you were just like, hey, each user could have their own database, right? And I guess that just seems like an incredibly complex, challenging thing to manage. If you have to manage all these different databases, I mean, they're the same data, but like with different information in it. So I guess how would that work? Like, do you need an orchestration layer on top of that? Like that has Cloudflare built that internal? Like, I guess how do you bring that vision about?
Well, I mean, we've seen customers actually, I mean, are using that pattern today, where it's either one durable object per user or one with one D1 database, where basically you kind of give it's multi-tenancy to another scale. That way you can even tell a user that this application is deployed globally, but all their data stays in one country. It gets trickier when you need to run analytics across things. There are definitely people that have built ways of querying across things and kind of doing a MapReduce job to join all your D1 databases together. We don't provide the tooling for that natively, but probably something that we'll add at some point, or hopefully someone in the open source community build something like that.
Wow. Okay. That's pretty fascinating. Well, let's get into agents now. So Agents SDK has been released. I think just talking to a lot of builders in the space, I would say that Workers and Agents SDK has far and away become, I would say, the number one, loose anecdotally through my polling, tool that people are using to build and deploy agents today. And so, walk us through how that happened. What does Agents SDK do? What is it opinionated on? Like, just kind of tell us the story there.
Yeah, I mean, historically, we've released these great distributed system primitives and out to the world, and just sort of said, okay, go figure it out and go build on it. This time around, we said no. We actually want to actually give them a way of kind of putting all the pieces together, and we wanted to really to show off how special durable objects were, and especially early on with early remote MCP servers, and needing a ability to have a kind of a stateful serverless object, which is what a durable object can do. But durable objects themselves are just tend to be a very hard concept for people to grasp and not very approachable. And so we said, okay, let's build this framework that kind of breaks it down into easier, more familiar paradigms, and gives great examples, and becomes a great building block for those things.
Is it an opinionated stack specific to Workers and Agents SDK? Is it opinionated about how you guys think agents should be built? Like, I'm just kind of curious, like, what is the opinionated?
Yeah, I mean, it's opinionated because I mean, durable objects is something pretty unique to Cloudflare, and we needed a stack that if you build around it to take advantage of everything that it can do, it's super powerful. So no, it was designed to be built in something that for people that actually were building on us. Not to say we won't expand it in the future, but right now, really that was the focus. And once again, most of the ideas at Cloudflare are best when we have internal use cases, and a lot of the internal teams are using it to build agent experiences internally on the platform.
One of the interesting things with agents that, at least when I've talked to people, is and you correct me if I'm wrong here, but like we've been in this paradigm where serverless has been one of the most useful ways, right? It's been cost efficient, spin up, spin down, great for kind of cloud applications. That being said, as we move into agents, right, we probably do want them to be longer running, persist state through things, be able to just accomplish tasks. Obviously, you guys have shipped workflows, so you're thinking about that. But I guess, is that the right way to think about that? Or will there still be a ton of agent use cases that are still benefit from serverless, and then you're going to have these longer running ones, and it sort of can be balanced in both sides?
I mean, there's nothing that really restricts serverless from being short running. Just like any machine, any server, like the workload's running and can really run as long as it needs to run. In general, like it's more efficient in a serverless environment to have them kind of divide the tasks up and have them kind of shorter running, and kind of make them composable and put them together. For longer running tasks, that's actually where durable objects gets really interesting. because most of the long running parts sometimes aren't even inside of the application itself, right? Like you're calling out to an LLM that it's taking a lot of time to process. You know, we don't necessarily charge you for that time, and the durable objects can be hibernated and kind of wait for that information to come back, and then get back to doing its processing once it gets the information back. So you know, I think it's a serverless environment, but it's not necessarily that your code is actively running the entire time.
Okay, got it. But how would you like, because there are these kind of durable workflow companies out there that have done quite well, right? Driven by this agent paradigm, and presumably that's got why you guys have also shipped workflows, right? Because of that. So I guess like maybe describe what workflows does, and then why that needs to exist in workers.
Yeah, I mean, I think workflows even before AI were super powerful. You know, I mean, just think about going to do a forgot password reset on a website, and it probably needs to send out an email, it needs to reset some logic in the database, it needs to perform all these steps that and you need to make sure that they actually happen, and you don't want to be synchronous in the flow of the user's requests, and so workflows provide that, provide the ability to have a kind of a durable multi-step set of tasks that get completed, and kind of drive your application through those workflows. They get used a lot in AI just because AI, what we've seen is obviously ends up being very composable of an iterative, just like a human working on an essay where you'll write a draft, then you'll go back and you'll rewrite these parts, you'll write an outline, and so to be able to communicate with an LM and for an agent to be able to kind of reprocess things and take in new information and act on them, you kind of need that multi-step durable workflows as well.
But then it's augmented with agents. But yeah, that the login password reset makes sense. It's interesting because like one of we talked about cost, right? And part of it is durable objects not running. It's also the fact that you guys are only charging for actual CPU time than just work time, so to speak, or downtime. One question I guess is that because you guys are prioritizing just getting a lot of developers on and stuff like that, or is that like fundamentally the platform is always going to be delivering that just the way that you guys have built this? You're always going to be able to maintain those like low costs.
Yeah, I mean, because we built from a freemium model up, we had to design things to be just ultra cost effective. Otherwise, you just can't afford to do a freemium model like we do. And this goes back, I mean, when we decided to give SSL away for everyone for free and double the encrypted internet overnight, literally there was a metric that we had where we had to get a cost per request down below a certain price. We had to be able to terminate SSL at a certain price point, and we had to be able to manage millions of certs, and kind of once we could drive that cost down. But obviously, now it pays dividends because we're an order of magnitude larger, and our costs, because we did that work back then, our costs for those things, remain very low, and that gets compounded every year for those savings. And so, we kind of think about that in the way we build everything. Our secret really is utilization, right? A lot of the servers sitting out at the other hyperscalers are running like at, probably sub 10% utilization.
Wow.
But companies are there paying for entire servers, right? And so when you think about it like that, our costs aren't very different than theirs. It's just we're not making you buy an entire server that just sits around. And there's even more optimization. I think, Kenton tweeted out about an optimization that we did recently that made the cost even cheaper. I mean, there's still even lower hanging fruit for us to kind of go back and do more. Or you think about, the internet, because we're global. Any given point, half the world's asleep, right? Any of our servers halfway around the world right now are, probably at half capacity, and really there's no real cost for us to fill them up, right? So like if we can figure out products where we can offload video encoding to there, or give people the ability to do asynchronous AI inference that doesn't need to be regionally located and doesn't have this latency stuff, we can even open up places where we can drive costs down even more.
That's like the most craziest routing infrastructure of all time. Like the
I mean, we're a giant scheduling engine is really what we are. Like, how do we get a request to a machine as efficiently as possible and service, keep utilization up and, just do, I mean, yeah, due to the extreme size. I mean, that's actually where GPUs actually were a little different. CPU, we're very good at like the CPU scheduling, but GPUs are just in the way that they work and the way that you can segment and are different. So that that was one of the things that we had to spend a lot of time trying to figure out how you do the routing and how you make sure you get that utilization up. A year ago, our GPU utilization was probably only in the 20 or 30%, and now we're approaching 75+% utilization. That's because we've gotten better at utilizing them in the past year.
Do modern models help with that? Like, can they look at historical data and just automatically do scheduling, or is it still kind of you need the homegrown systems that you guys have built?
Just the way our network works, starting with Anycast and how a request comes into our systems. There's not much off the shelf stuff that we can use, and so and honestly, there's not that much stuff that if we open sourced it would be of any use to anyone else because it's so tightly coupled with the design of our platform.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. We talked about the Kenton's tweets. He did have one as well, which I thought was pretty cool, where he said it was code mode instead of using MCP or transformed MCP into what he called code mode, and then you could just use that. I guess could you talk about one, what he did, and two, what are the trade-offs that people should be aware of using so-called code mode versus using MCP?
It still is an MCP server the way they have it implemented. It's just instead of a MCP server having kind of these predefined tools, it's something the MCP server actually can do what LLMs do best and actually return code that then you can go execute that accomplishes what that tool might have done. And so it's more of like creating these dynamic MCP servers in a way that make it easier for LLMs to actually speak a more natural language that they're used to handling.
So if you were to call, Salesforce and ask it for some data, right? You would use MCP. It would go out, get that, bring it back, right? What you're saying is, hey, instead, this will return code that you can then just run just in your IDE or whatever your or the agent can run.
Yeah, or your main the main agent LLM that whatever you're running there can actually just go and execute it locally to go get those things.
Okay, interesting. Wow. Yeah, this is one of those just out of the box thinking things where it's just like I haven't seen that before, and that comes out, and then it's just like it almost seems too good to be true, but it clearly is working. So it's pretty fascinating. So we talked about how people are using workers to build agents. Obviously, a lot of other things as well, but I think also definitely agents and a lot in AI. What are in your opinion, the biggest blockers to just increasing that adoption 1000x, right? Is there like a key thing, or is it little kind of changes that you still need to make?
I think a lot of it's just awareness and training and education and making it more accessible. As I mentioned before, we have some of these amazing primitives, but we need to meet all the developers where they are today. So that's the tooling, the developer experience, just platform level things that we're working on getting those rough edges down. I wouldn't trade our position where I think we have these things that are very hard to scale and build kind of out there, and now we need to just make sure that they're tied together in a way that is even more sensible for a larger audience.
How close do you think we are to the ChatGPT moment for agents? Right, agents are being used, but I mean I guess the example that everyone talks about is, hey, book me a flight, book me a hotel, and boom, I don't have to think about it. Is this a year away? Is it 2 years away? Is it what's your view on it?
I think it's a few years away. And probably even more for something that's mass adoption. There are a lot of challenges ahead with permissions, access, authorization, data. I'm still waiting for the first big data leak where you gave one of these AI companies access to all your Gmail, all your Google Drive, and then they get breached, and then someone now has access to basically their lives. I mean, my life lives in email, right? Like probably find almost anything about me in there, and so I think there's going to be a moment where like security still gets brought to the forefront, and you have to figure that out before kind of going to the fully kind of autonomous agents at scale.
Yeah, that is a kind of scary thing to think about if that occurred. But we spent a lot of time here on workers. I think rightfully so, because frankly, you guys have just built so many of these primitives over time. I still remember when durable objects came out. Shout out to Chris Sperandio, who at the time I believe he was still at Segment, and he would just shout it from the rooftops like, "This is the most amazing thing." And I'd be like, I'd go read through the docs, and I'd be like, I still don't understand it, but now thank you for explaining it to me, because I finally get why it's so powerful. But I guess like there's so many things that you guys are doing, right? Is there kind of one area today, right, where you were just like, man, it could be a product area, it could be a use case, whatever, that you're like, this is something I'm super excited about within Cloudflare?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited that really, seeing all the startups that are building on us from day one, because I know there will be one of those startups will be a multi-billion-dollar company at some point in the near future, and to be able to say that it's not just AI that let them build it with so few people, but they could do it because of the Cloudflare platform, had a better experience, and helped them scale with a small team to a huge size and revenue very very efficiently. So I love talking to other startups and just kind of hearing how they're building, how they're thinking about us. What's great is, I mean, the Workers platform is opinionated, which is not great for legacy as much as it is for greenfield. And so the best thing about these companies is obviously everything is greenfield, and so they can really architect and build in a way that if they get it, kind of gives them a superpower with Cloudflare, and we get to be part of that journey with them.
Last question I have for you would actually be, out of all the customers you talk to, like, I guess, like, is there a use case that on workers that like you just thought was really freaking cool, right? And it could be, it could be large, it could be small. Obviously, don't need to mention the customer's name, but more so just what was an interesting use case that you were just like, oh wow, like I didn't, that's pretty cool that you could do that.
This one's public because I think they've done a case study on it. A big baseball fan, use the MLB app, and a few years ago they built a feature in with durable objects where you can kind of see the 3D live views of pitches during a game, and that was something that was built on durable objects. So it's cool to know that and something that you're using, that your your family's using. You can say, that's only possible because they use durable objects and we're able to build this great experience.
That's great, because the amount of data that has to flow through to make that happen is insane. So yeah. That's I guess I'll link to that blog post. But is there anything about how they built that was like, I guess how they go about just actually delivering that use case?
I mean, I think they had durable objects kind of per game that people could, you can connect millions of WebSockets to, so millions of users could have their devices that connected to that and kind of subscribe to getting all the, the pitches and all the information kind of out to them just in a really efficient way. That
is so cool. Yeah, sports use cases are a good way to bring it to life. So, but Dane, thank you so much for the time. I guess are there any things that you want to call out for listeners that are coming up? I don't know when birthday week is next, but you always got stuff to announce then. But anyway, whatever you have to announce for.
Well, there was a lot of stuff that didn't make the cut for birthday week this year that I think we're preparing to launch quite a bit between now and the end of the year. So I think there'll be tons of stuff for people to play with over their Thanksgiving holidays. That's still yet to come.
This was really cool to do. Like I said, I think just kudos to you guys for always just being some of the best people to work with in terms of, I can attest to just, startups that were having small issues and you just, putting them in touch with the right people and getting it done. And, I can't imagine what that's like at the enterprise side. It must be even better. So it's awesome. Thank you for what you guys are doing, and just really cool to see you building all these primitives that hopefully can bring about, some unique experiences for all of us in the future. So,
yeah, thanks for having me.